Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here. Just a really quick housekeeping note. This Sunday, on February 23rd, is going to mark the 6-year anniversary of Soulprint having been here on YouTube. So to everyone and all of you, thank you very, very much for your ongoing support. And you people are absolutely just remarkable. You just are. Amazing community that we have built here at Soulprint. It may not be the biggest, but I think in some ways it is of high vibration. So, really interesting questions today that Joyce compiled for me and put together. Thank you, my dear. So let's take a look and see what kind of answers we're getting. I will caution you just quickly that sometimes when you are looking for a no, when an answer is going to be no, it will often start with that back and forth motion and then pivot into the circular motion, which is how come sometimes it looks like it's saying yes, and I'm telling you it's saying no, in part because almost as soon as the pendulum starts swinging, I know the answer. It just is in my head. And no, that does not make me try to make the pendulum move in a certain way, because that would be foolish and insulting. Will Canada's next Prime Minister be a woman? Energetically right now, that's a no. Is Biden sad about the actions of F-45? Yes. I think it's safe to say that all living previous presidents are saddened by what they see being done to the U.S. government. Is that correct? Yeah. Court orders have been issued against some of the executive orders. They are, of course, being ignored. Can anything be done to enforce them? Okay, so I think that this is how that would unfold. The, I guess, prosecution would have to approach the judge and say, your ruling is not being adhered to. And then the judge then reacts to that. So if you think about some of the kind of stuff that we saw with during sort of the 4 years of Trump legal cases, right? When Trump wasn't doing something he was supposed to, it was the prosecution that notified the judge, who then told the defense to get their client under control. So it's sort of like that. So the question is, can anything be done to enforce them? Yes. The question remains whether or not it's going to be successful. But yeah, there are mechanisms in place. Is it true that most of his cabinet knew he would win and bribed or otherwise negotiated their way into cabinet positions? All right. I'm just going to rework that a little bit, because the way the question is set up, it supposes that all of these people knew what the results were going to be. I'm not suggesting that's right or wrong. I'm just removing it from the equation. So the question becomes, have members of the Trump cabinet basically paid, negotiated, bribed their way into their cabinet positions? Yes. That's not a surprise. This is somebody who was selling pardons. If there should be a transition from Trump to Harris presidency, will a coalition of Dems and Republican leaders keep the government running? Okay. When Trump won, no, when Trump lost to Biden, all of a sudden there was all of this talk about decertifying an election. there is not a mechanism in place to decertify. And in fact, as a result of what happened on January 6th and the pressure that came to bear on Mike Pence, during the Biden administration, there were laws put into effect that strengthened the function of that certification process. So one of the things that they made really clear with these new rules was that the vice president has no power to change anything or switch anything. They are simply ceremonial. So it was actually the Democratic Party that strengthened the rules against some one person being able to just decide something that needed to be decertified. There isn't a mechanism for that. And I know you're hearing things like the election is going to be decertified and it's going to transition to a Harris government. I cannot see that happening. I can't see the logistical sequence of events. Is there going to be a coalition? No, there's going to be a war. Because you can't just decide that you're going to decertify something that has been certified, okay? I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done. I'm saying I don't know that there's a mechanism for it to be done. And it's not an impossibility, but it's also it's not something that you're going to get Congress, which are governed by Trump, to in any way, shape, or form agree with. And the other thing that I just want to remind you guys is that up until Trump, it was really considered sort of a no-no to have an opinion about elections in another country, and what those people should or should not do, particularly coming from other major government. Having said that, there may very well be information that is floating around out there or that is slowly coming together that indicates that yes, there was cheating, there was malfeasance involved, but it's going to take some pretty clever lawyering to figure out how to then take the step from the election was faulty, what's next? Because there isn't a what's next scenario in your Constitution to the best of my understanding. So there isn't a transition that's likely to happen unless you're talking about a transition in 2028. Will an outside entity or country come forth and make allegations that the American election was stolen? Okay, yes, it's massive, but it's a yes. If so, will Congress be asked to decertify the election? Yes. Will Congress decertify the election? No. Will Kamala Harris take her rightful place as president in 2025? No. I wish I could tell you where we're going to be in 6 months or 8 months or a year from now. And it makes me crazy that I can't. But everything is in such a state of flux right now. And the energy, it's like trying to follow the energy as it's going on right now is literally like playing whack-a-mole. Okay, it's like, so you're focused on one thing that you're distracted by this or distracted by that. So where you're at right now is a place where I think you're looking at the midterms to completely stop. Just for like just both, the Senate and the House just blocking him for however much longer he's going to be in office or his successor is. Yeah. Two astronauts have spent much longer in space than intended when NASA and Boeing discovered issues with the spacecraft last June and decided to bring it home unmanned. Two astronauts, Williams and Wilmore, are at the International Space Station. They will be brought home on March 12th or 19th. Question: will the astronauts be healthy when they return back to Earth? Okay, yes, but I'm hearing um, there there's going to be some sort of issue with them reacclimating to gravity or um, just sort of reorientating themselves. They're going to be healthy. It's not like they're bringing back anything, diseases or germs or anything like that. It just feels like they've got some adapting to do once they get here. I don't know, how when you're getting on a boat and they say, well, you have to get your sea legs. Makes you wonder if they have to get their earth legs when they come back. Just a question. Do you see the stock market dropping 20% or more this year? Fortunately, that's a yes. Is this likely to happen in the first half of the year? Is it likely to happen in the last half of the year? So June to December. Will it be as bad as 2008-9 crash? Okay, no answer. You're looking at a very, very different situation here. Part of it, it's like Trump and or the people around him don't seem to understand that there's sort of, there's a natural rhythm to the way economies function and the way people function. So what you've got now is a situation where in all kinds of cities around the United States, people who had what would have been considered incredibly secure and safe government jobs are now being furloughed, laid off, whatever, left, right, and center. Well, what happens? Those people now are in a constricted financial situation, right? So what do? They immediately stop spending extras, right? So all of a sudden they're not going out to restaurants. All of a sudden they're not going to the movies. All of a sudden they're not picking up that extra pack of whatever. That then in turn impacts the local economy. So in some ways it's going to be worse. And in some ways it's not the same thing. You're trying to compare apples to oranges because one had to do with sort of a banking crash. This is more of a it's like a spiral into a depression. Um, and now that Trump and EM have gotten very vocal about the fact that, oh yeah, it's going to get really awful for a while. It's going to be really hard. Oh, was he saying that when he said he was going to lower grocery prices on day one? Uh, so I know that's not a great answer, but it's what we've got right now, right? As I said, the energy is spiraling in so many directions so quickly. It's hard to get a grasp. Will EM delay or stop Social Security payments? Okay, so right now we're getting a no. Will EM take away our Social Security for those of us who are 50 plus, but not yet at full retirement age? It's kind of a no. It doesn't feel actually make much of it. If anything, they're going to try to um, they're going to either try to change the amount that you're getting or the age that you can start at. So I think for a lot of people, they're sort of grandfathered in, right? But I think that it's new, those people who are going to be turning, 55 and 65 and whatever it is and are wanting to move forward. I think those ones are going to be relatively safe, but it's people who are now 45. By the time they get to 65 or whatever your cutoffs are, that's where there's going to be a question of, you know, who qualifies and who doesn't qualify, and how quickly this nonsense can be reversed once they figure out how to stop the destruction. Will EM be stopped from accessing our U.S. government by the end of 2025? Okay, so sometimes between the end of this year, is Elon Musk going to be neutralized? Right. Well, for right now, that's a yes. Um, will our 2024 tax refunds be delayed? Yes. You can't fire 200,000 employees across the country and think that things are going to keep right on ticking along. Will many people decide not to pay their taxes this year? I don't know that that's a good strategy. Let's just ask the question. Are a lot of people going to just choose to protest by not paying their taxes? No. Um, what you're doing there is almost drawing attention to yourself. And we all know that this group of people are particularly good at making hit lists, making lists of people that they've that have upset them. Okay. A previous U.S. president speaking with one another about the chaos and the crisis that F-45 and EM are creating. Okay, yes, they are. Did you hear that Trump revoked Biden's security clearance? It's just tit for tat, right? He did it to Trump, Trump does it to him. I mean, this is how petty the man in the Oval Office is. Every little slight has to be revenged. Um, okay, so if yes, are they planning any kind of coordinated public announcement in defense of our Constitution and democracy? It's sort of a little, yes, what I want to say is it's something that's being thought about, it's being talked about. Um, I don't think there's nothing concrete yet energetically that I'm picking up on, but it's definitely on the table. Will the press corps stage at least a one-day boycott of press briefings in support of their colleagues? So I'm gathering that this has to do with the fact that there are now reputable agencies, news agencies, who are being restricted from the press conferences because they're asking, questions that actually require an answer, and Trump doesn't like that. So, will they stage something? At this point, no. Are the many protests across the U.S. getting any attention by the current administration? Okay, so yeah, they're actually aware of it, which is something. Will those protests grow? Will those protests grow in the next several months? Okay, yes. Will the no buy anything on February 28th? This is so cool. I just started to hear about this. So the idea is on February 28th, purchasing just stops. Um, and the idea is to sort of push back hard against big real retailers who are supporting what's going on because they like the tax breaks, or big things are being owned by very wealthy people who want those tax breaks. I think it's kind of cool. So the question is it going to have any effect on corporate America? Will they get a message? Yes, they will. Again, depending on how many people participate, right? Will the 2025 hurricane season be an active one in Florida? Yes. Sorry about that. Will Trump try to privatize the postal service? Yes. So DeJoy apparently has resigned, right, after his 5 years. So Trump's going to be needing to put in another postmaster. I'm just going to ask this question a slightly different way. Will Trump be successful in privatizing the U.S. Postal Service? Okay, so no. So he's going to try it, and it's not going to get him anywhere. Will there come a time when Fox Noise is forced to start telling some truths? Who's going to force them? Right? We make our power known through the choices we make, the products we buy, the services we watch, etc. As long as there are news stations out there that really want to slant things in a way that very often doesn't bear any resemblance to truth, they have an audience. And until that audience goes, wait a minute, we're being told stuff now that was not part of what he promised us, only then, when the pushback from the people becomes enough. Does 45 think the American people are stupid? Well, yeah, he does. And he thinks that they are gullible and that they are easily conned and manipulated. And frankly, it's understandable why he thinks that way, right? You still have some 45% of the country who thinks he's just doing amazing. Does J.D. Vance think he's going to be the president? Yes, he does at some point. Does Usha, I hope that's how you pronounce her name, Vance, enjoy the duties of the vice president's wife? There's no answer here. It almost makes me wonder if there isn't some confusion about what their duties are. She's not doing anything right now that I can see. There seems to, her focus right now seems to be domestic. Okay, so it's on her kids, it's getting things sorted out, even though it feels like it's been a decade and we have all aged at least half that much, it's only been a month. Hard though that is to believe. So what you have is you have a mom here who's still trying to get things sorted out with her family, get everybody moved, et cetera, et cetera. That seems to be her focus right now. Um, do DJ and Asha Vance have a strong marriage? Well, according to them, yes, they do. Really, who else can judge, right? All right. For those of us seniors living in America, will our Social Security payments and SNAP benefits be interrupted? Unfortunately, that's a yes. Are those payments going to, is the impact of that going to be felt as early as the month of February of this year? Yeah, what I'm getting is yes, a little bit down the road. Is Putin controlling uh, EM? Has Musk bought, dump from the Russian guy? No. Um, Sorry, what they said was he's not a commodity. He's not something that can be, you can't transfer ownership from one sort of egomaniac to another. However, um, what you have here more than anything else feels like a president with two masters. The attorney generals from 14 states have filed a complaint against EM, claiming that he doesn't have the authority to access sensitive government data. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkin seems unwilling to bar Musk from meddling. Will this change? Okay, now, my understanding was that when she returned the ruling, what she did was she gave them a little bit of a roadmap in terms of how to refile it so that she could rule on it in a more positive way. So I don't think that it was just a matter of her sort of bowing and saying, okay, well, no, this was more a matter of send this back to me in a way that gives me a little bit more leverage or allows me to make some shifts and changes. So without judgment, let's let that unfold and see how it goes. Will the Republicans succeed in making 45's birthday a holiday? Oh, be damned. Look at that. They're going to give it a really, really good try. Will that be a holiday that is honored? Not so much. Will the election interference that has been alleged to have occurred many miles up in the atmosphere, will it ever be known? Okay, you've got a yes. It doesn't feel like all of it's going to be known, but pieces are going to start coming out. So, pieces. Will the U.S. Marshals be brought in to arrest felon 45? Not at this point. In the future, when DT is no longer president, will we, the American people, have learned a lot of truths about our country and not just about DT? Is the current upheaval that is being experienced by the United States something that is going to bring truthful clarity and insight to some of the truths connected with the United States? Will people start? Is that going to give them an opportunity to start fixing things? Okay, so yes. So that's where we are. Thank you for being here. I really, really do appreciate it. It's Friday, so I want you to do something nice for yourself and someone else. Take some time this weekend to decompress. The days get more and more insane. And it's energy zapping. So remember, what everybody is saying, take care of yourself first, keep yourself in a good place, keep yourself in a good spot, and stay in a really positive headspace. It just helps. Okay. It just helps. All right, that's what I know for right now. Thank you very, very much for being here. I will look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, take care and be well. Bye for now.